Hello, everybody, and welcome back to It All Depends on the Situation. I am your host, Eric, and I'm once again joined by my wife and co-host, Ashley.
Heyo.
All right. Now, this is one we've been discussing about doing for quite a while now.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, this is, oh my gosh, it's going to be the anime podcast episode.
Which there will probably be several other anime episodes.
Oh, yeah. This will be a different part series, too. But anime was very special to us in many ways, just because, you know, we got introduced to it at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're going to want to dive, like, from where we started back then into the stuff we're actually watching now. But like you said, we'll break it into multiple parts and everything. Yeah. But it's just basically just to get the ground running.
So, when did you get into anime?
Probably the earliest memories I have of this stuff was probably Pokemon. So the Pokemon anime I used to watch in grade school. You come home and, like, I think they would have episodes on in the morning or something, like Bye Bye Butterfree or something.
Well,
so I'd watch that.
Well, I got into it. It was before Toonami was even a thing, because I have mentioned this in a couple of the other podcasts already, but my first anime was Sailor Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, woke up super early. I remember it being in the newspaper.
Really?
Oh, yeah, there was a whole article. It was in the Akron Beacon Journal. Pretty sure it was on the front page.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about Sailor Moon. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding. I would wake up like 6 in the morning to watch it.
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon. But it wasn't it was the Deke dub of Sailor Moon.
Because that was the first one that really kind of dubbed it in English and brought it over to the States. And they changed a lot of the names, too, because Usagi, who's supposed to be Sailor Moon, went by Sabrina or something,
Serena.
Right? Serena.
Yeah, I think they did that with a lot of the American dubs because they wanted it to be more relatable to Americans.
So was Tuxedo Mask going by a different name, too?
His name was Darian.
Oh.
In the Deke dub. And then Darian. I'm trying to think, Sailor Mars, her name was still the same. Amy, Sailor Mercury, but in Japanese, it was Ami, but they called her Amy in American.
Close enough.
And then, it was, I think Sailor Jupiter in the American dub, her name was Lita. Pretty sure.
Yep. Never watched Sailor Moon. At least until I met you, then we ended up like binging Sailor Moon Crystal and watched
Which surprises me. Well, I thought you would have watched Sailor Moon.
Nope. Definitely not my cup of tea. But yeah, we ended up binging Sailor Moon Crystal. Like, we ended up watching a lot of the Japanese ones before they would air Japanese dub before English dub. So we'd always hear the one Momo-chan. Momo-chan. It's like, oh my gosh. So we hear that all the time.
Yeah, we still kind of joke about it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I never really watched Sailor Moon growing up. I did end up watching like a little bit of Gundam, I think was on. Before like you brought it up before, Toonami. Once Toonami really started, that's when I started getting more introduced into what anime was.
Yeah, Toonami really, I mean, that's kind of how a lot of Americans got introduced to anime.
Yep. And that's the thing, like, I know there's a section of anime fans that prefer only Japanese dub over English dub. We are English dub to the most extreme.
And I feel like that's a controversial take among anime.
Oh, big time.
Because there's so many people like, I can only watch it.
I can only watch it the original way it's meant to be viewed.
And I don't know if it's because we grew up watching the English dubs.
Probably.
For some reason, I just can't get into it. I really prefer the English dubs.
I mean, for me, if I have to watch it with Japanese dub, obviously I have like English subtitles at the bottom, so I'm like, okay, kind of differentiate. But then your eyes are constantly diverted away from the action, looking at the words all the time.
Well, but there are some animes that I can see why people didn't like the English dub because it was terrible.
Until you get to Ghost Stories. That's a whole nother topic we'll bring up later. But we're getting back to basically Toonami right now. It was really the engine that started, like, getting people involved with anime.
Do you remember, because they aired it on Toonami, Ronin Warriors?
Faintly remember Ronin Warriors.
So, basically, it was kind of like Sailor Moon for dudes.
Yeah.
Though it came out before Sailor Moon. I think it actually came out the year we were born, 1988.
Mm-hmm.
Samurai Warriors, they had, like, the magical girl transformation. But that was one of the ones where I watched it later on, and the English dub is so bad.
Is it?
The voice acting's terrible.
It's almost like Voltron-esque. Like, oh my God.
Sort of.
Pidge, look out, everybody. I guess that is technically another anime because, like, could you consider like Thundercats and Voltron being anime?
Voltron, yes.
Voltron, I could see anime-esque.
Was Thundercats made in America?
That might have been.
Yeah.
It had like kind of a gritty feel, but yeah, I guess Voltron growing up was one. But yeah, I just remember Pidge having the really interesting voice. Like, is this a guy or a girl? I can't tell.
Well, I find it funny in the newer Voltron, they made Pidge a girl.
Yeah, they made him a girl. So, but I really couldn't tell anyway because he had such an interesting voice. Oh my god, guys! It's like,
But that, yeah, Ronin Warriors. I'm like, I loved that one. It was cool. They had to fight against the Dynasty.
The Dynasty.
It was the Dynasty. Yeah, they were the evil force. But yeah, the English voice acting in that was pretty bad. And there was a really annoying little kid character. His name was Yuli. Oh, he was so annoying. And I remember one of the Ronin Warriors slapping him in the face, and I'm like, yes, thank you.
They could be bebopping back and forth. But yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, Voltron was probably the one that got me introduced to a lot of this stuff. Like, that might even predate Pokemon. So
it probably did.
Because it came out back in the 80s or something, right?
Maybe the 70s?
Yeah, I think it was the 80s. And then I think, like, there was the trope of the fainting princess. I'm like, Princess Allura, she really wouldn't do anything. Compared to, like, the new modern one. Yeah. Where she's, like, doing everything and has control of a ship. But, like she had the trope of the fainting princess. Where she's like, oh, 100%. Save me up. And then there was, Keith was, like, the main...
Keith.
Lance. Come on, guys, let's do this.
Who was the...
Dynotherms connected. Turbo thrusters are go. Let's go, Voltron Force. Da, 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 da. And all these freaking cats are just, like, forming the giant robot thing. Basically, Power Rangers before Power Rangers.
It was Power Rangers before Power Rangers.
Yeah, just like, let's take all these different, like, mechanical things and turn it into a really big mechanical thing.
I mean, really, like, Power Rangers, essentially, that is Voltron.
Yeah.
Really.
Big time. So, they're, like, space people. Who was the narrator behind? Was that Peter Cullen? The guy who voices Optimus Prime?
In Voltron?
Yeah, Voltron's narrator. Voltron, legendary defender. It might have been Peter Cullen.
It might be.
Yeah, he's got... We'll probably name off different like voice actors along the way here because I always look up to them and, oh my gosh, some have such legendary performances.
Yes. Well, you're quite the voice actor yourself.
Yeah, aspiring voice actor.
Yeah.
So, we'll get into more of that as we go through all the different ones. But yeah, Voltron's, one of the core ones growing up. Was that ever on Toonami?
I feel like it was for a short time.
Probably the very beginning.
God, do you remember when Hamtaro was on Toonami?
I loved Hamtaro. Like, I still sing that song every once in a while.
You do, so every once in a while you'll break out into
Hamtaro time. Ziggy ziggy.
Yeah, seriously, you'll randomly break out in the Hamtaro theme song.
My best friends, and we work together. It's much better. My hams.
I can't believe you remember.
Like, you'd have to watch that to get to Dragon Ball. I remember, because I think that was like the very first one starting off, and it's like, okay.
I feel like they had the more cutesy animes at the beginning.
And the more grittier ones at the end. But yeah, you had basically had to endure Hamtaro and Totally Spies in order to get to Dragon Ball.
And mind you, children, this was the time before like streaming and Netflix. Oh yeah,
if you missed that time slot, you missed it for the day.
Seriously, I remember being so mad, like if I would miss an episode, because you would literally have to wait until the next day, or if you missed an episode, you'd have to wait longer because they would just keep going. And yeah, you'd have to wait longer because if you missed it. I
know one in particular anime, if you want to call it that. It's kind of more digital, I guess. Zoids. For some reason, I cannot find Zoids anywhere. It's almost like a Mandela effect, like it never happened.
Did we talked about Zoids before, didn't we?
I think so. But like, they're not on any streaming service. No. You can't find it anywhere. There's some kind of licensing dispute somewhere. I remember, like, getting so pumped up watching that with, like, watching BitCloud. And I think it was was it New Century? Because you watched Chaotic Century.
I liked Chaotic Century.
Yeah, that's the one that came before New Century.
It had the little organoid Zeke.
Yeah, Zeke, the
little robot guy.
Yeah, and I watched one with Liger Zero! Liger, the Jaeger, Schneider, and Panzer. And they had Lena, who was, like, all gun crazy and would, like, shoot a shit ton of missiles. And have, like, an 8 or, like, a 6-figure miss.
Man.
Yeah, I love Zoids.
I did too, because they used to have Zoids on in the morning. I remember watching Zoids before going to school.
Yes, that I do remember too. So, and there was, the Liger Zero, because it had like different like interchangeable parts to like this big weaponized cat. They basically ride around it and battle.
Oh, there was a big giant one. Oh, it was in Chaotic Century. What was it called?
It was like the Zoidosaurus or something. It was like a big
Deathsaurus or something.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up because now I can't. There was the Berserk Fury.
Yeah, the Berserk Fury was another one that had like a internal like sentient thing in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very similar to the Liger Zero. God, I love Zoids.
I'm looking up at the. Oh God, what?
I just remember the ridiculous the referees. There was always like the good referee that would come down and judge the battle, and he's like, "Battle mode, blah blah blah, section 589, ready, fight." And then you get like it'd shoot like a black one down from the sky, and he'd be like, the enemy judge would be like, "Battle mode, blah 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 blah. There's no rules. Fight to the death. Kill each other."
Oh, the Shield Liger and the Blade Liger. I remember those.
That was Chaotic Century.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Shield Liger.
But I'm looking up the name of the big one. I want the big one. The big one.
I thought it was like some Bronchiosaurus
thing.
The
Deathsaurer. Yeah.
Deathsaurer.
It was a big...
I don't know if I've watched it like all the way to see that one or not. Because how many seasons was that? Was that just one?
Two. There were 2 seasons of that one.
Yeah, I probably haven't seen the later seasons. But I remember I've seen New Century. So that was a fun one. Yeah, I just remember Bit Cloud. That guy voiced a lot of things. I think he voiced... Well, I think Inuyasha, too.
I think he did.
Yeah, not 100% sure. I don't know the guy's name.
Because that wasn't Funimation.
No, definitely not. That might have been Ocean Dub.
Well, because Funimation's the one that voices or does the dub for so many anime
They
now.
do. They basically are anime. That and Chris Sabat.
Yeah. He's like all of Dragon Ball.
The voice of Vegeta, the dragon, and the half of Dragon Ball.
Oh, well, we'll get talking about Dragon Ball Z in a little bit because we're going to go on about that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, I'm trying to remember some of the other like things that aired on Toonami.
Oh, I remember Big O.
Don't know if I recall that
Speaking of robots. And Big O was another one.
Cyborg 009 I remember watching. I was like, this is really friggin' weird.
I liked Cyborg 009.
Yeah. I mean, it was intriguing, but I just remember, like, I watched the episode where, like, the two brothers, like, one was a positive, one was a negative, like, charge thing, and they could never, like, touch each other or they'd die.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is pretty dark. I'm like, oh, my God. And they end up, like, they were both, like, dead at the end. They both held each other's hand for the first time. I'm like, that's really messed up, man.
Yeah, Big O. That was another... I remember there was like an android lady. Yeah, it was called Paradigm City.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it took place in the Paradigm City. And there was was her name Dorothy? I feel like her name was Dorothy. She was like an android. Man, the more I talk, I'm trying to remember. Oh, but okay, so speaking of big robots and such, I feel like one of the quintessential animes is Gundam.
Gundam, oh yeah. I remember I used to watch Gundam Wing and everything on Toonami.
I used to watch Gundam Wing too. Mm-hmm. And looking back at Gundam Wing, it's kind of odd. Like, there's little to no humor in it at all.
It's all just very dry.
And then the main character... Like, this is a scene that gets memed a lot. Main character, his name's Hiro Yui. He goes to Relina's birthday party. Like, the girl that has a crush on him. And he literally, like, makes a finger gun, points it to her head, and goes, "I'll kill you."
What the?
It's like, dude, you're just going to her birthday party. Why are you threatening to kill her?
Yeah, that's weird.
No, I really, really got into Gundam Wing. Like, I watched it, but then looking back, I'm like, I can't. Watching it now, I'm like, I can't believe I watched this at 12 years old.
Yeah. Well, it's like kind of like how I feel about Digimon, because I would watch Pokemon and then Digimon, the anime came out, and I got into that one. That was kind of interesting. But like, as a little kid, like they would constantly evolve and take new forms. And as a kid, I used to get so hyped for it, like, yeah, they're digi-evolving to something bigger and more awesome. They're digi-evolving again. As an adult, it's insufferable. It's like, oh my God.
Oh my God, you have to watch the same
again and again.
The same transformation sequence again and again.
The one thing I do love about it, though, is at the end of one of the seasons, they end up going against Apoclymon, and he breaks the fourth wall with his voice character. It's hilarious.
Oh my God.
And he's just like, here I am, complete with hot and cold running water. Why is it that you eat all the pizza and all you leave me is the crust? So friggin' funny.
Oh my God.
You ever get a chance to watch that? Oh yeah, Digimon. So good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Digimon and Pokemon first starting off, and Voltron. I'd say we were like my quintessential, like, big three.
Yeah, man, I think, like I said, Gundam Wing was huge for me. I remember getting excited because there was the movie called Endless Waltz.
Mm.
I loved that movie. Because, the animation was better.
Mm-hmm.
The Gundams looked cooler.
Mm-hmm.
I even had the Gundam Wing comic books.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I would go to Kenmore Comics with my dad. And I would get the Gundam Wing comics, and they had, I want to say they were called Ground Zero. Gundam Wing Ground Zero comics.
Yep. Never got into the comics.
Yeah, I did. I love the comics. I used to read those a lot.
I used to pick up a Sonic comic book back in the day. But yeah, not any anime.
I'm actually looking at pictures online right now of the different Gundam Wing comics. Man.
Mm-hmm. That'll jog your memory. I remember, there was a video game that came out a while later called Robotech that I ended up picking up, and I guess that was an anime as well, kind of similar to Gundam. For some reason, Japan had a fascination with big robot creatures fighting things.
Yes.
So that's always been a thing. But yeah, the big thing involved with Toonami, I mean, it was kind of like the center point of all this was Dragon Ball.
Oh man, Dragon Ball.
We got more into Dragon Ball Z, I feel like, more than the original Dragon Ball. Because Dragon Ball is the young protagonist Goku. Basically, Kid Goku. Yeah. He basically was escaping from a planet that was basically doomed to be destroyed.
Very Superman-esque.
Yeah, very, essences of Superman, where basically, this planet's destroyed, he ends up on Earth, and ends up becoming this, all-powerful fighter, and then realizes his destiny later on.
Well, wasn't he originally sent to Earth to, basically destroy Earth?
That's the thing. It was very unclear in the original Dragon Ball, but until Dragon Ball Z, then I think they started penning in new narratives about, the reason why he came to Earth. But yeah, basically, he's a descendant of the Saiyan race that can turn into, these giant, mammoth monkey figures that could basically destroy planets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they at the full moon they would turn into the giant monkeys.
Yeah, if there's ever a full moon, they turn into this giant monkey, and they would destroy things. So, and they're way more powerful than a typical human. But yeah, basically Goku grows up and everything, and ends up fighting a whole bunch of different enemies and aliens along the way. So, but Dragon Ball was really just captivating.
Well, Dragon Ball Z, I remember getting really heavy into it at the pretty early on with Toonami. I started watching it, I believe it was the Saiyan saga when I started watching it for the first time. Huh. And then, I loved the Frieza saga. Mm-hmm. I loved that.
That's the one I remember too.
And then I really loved the Cell saga. Yep. The Frieza saga and the Cell sagas are my two favorite Dragon Ball Z arcs, if you will.
Now, I ended up coming into Dragon Ball Z around my middle school years, actually. I think Blake ended up introducing me to it because he brought over World's Strongest, a standalone movie. And I'm like, what is this? They're shooting energy blasts all over the place and stuff's going crazy. I'm like, what is this? He's like, dude, it's Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, all right. So I checked into it around the time of the Buu saga. So the very last arc of Dragon Ball Z and its run. And I have an affinity for the Buu saga over the other ones. So that's the one that you despise the most.
No, my least favorite arc in Dragon Ball Z is Gohan goes to high school and the whole Great Saiyaman. So, cringe.
Yeah.
Cringe.
I still don't know why they had the Garlic Jr. saga.
Oh, God, yeah, Garlic Jr.
It's the most forgotten saga in Season 4.
Because that was between the Frieza saga and the Cell saga, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a filler.
It's weird in-between filler. And there's a ton of filler in Dragon Ball Z. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
If you really take the time to watch all of it.
Was it a Garlic Jr. and the Spice Boys?
Yeah, the Spice Boys. Fantastic.
Oh, man, you can't talk about the Frieza saga without talking about...
The Ginyu Force.
The Ginyu Force.
Gotta do it like this! Yeah, Captain Ginyu had the most awesome voice of the whole troop there. And then you had, the Australian talking, Jace!
Jace!
And then you had his big blue friend, Betty!
Who's the other one?
Goldo! The guy who could, hold his breath. He looked like a big frog thing with 4 eyes, and he would hold his breath and stop time.
Yeah.
And run from his life from Vegeta. He's like, ah! Yeah. And then Raccoon, the big bumbling goat, yeah! Raccoon! I think the most ridiculous poses.
It was so funny.
I love when watching people online that would try to recreate their pose.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, like this. So good. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z is like quintessential. Like we've binged it how many times too?
Well, do you remember one time, this was when we were still dating, we started with Dragon Ball.
And watched it all the way.
We watched all the way from Dragon Ball. We watched all of Dragon Ball, and we watched all of Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm. And attempted to get through GT, but it's just... Ugh.
Oh, GT.
Yeah, GT is like recognized by the community as kind of like maybe canon, maybe not canon. So
it's a alternate universe. I don't know. It's I've tried to watch GT. I can't do it.
But if you're a first-time anime person, yeah, definitely binge at least Dragon Ball Z to kind of get the gist of everything, and then you can watch Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Oh,
because that's a dub team that's basically online based, where they've redubbed in English all the different voices for the characters. So Goku, instead of having like his typical voice, he's basically dumber than a box of hammers.
He sounds so dumb.
He's like, huh? Muffin button.
Muffin button?
Mm-hmm. Vegeta's spot on. Sounds just like Chris Sabat. So he's like, here's the Dragon Ball. Here's it. I'm going to close my eyes, and it's going to be this out there. Where is it? They took it.
And the ghost of Nappa on his shoulder.
Shut up, Nappa.
He took the Dragon Ball.
He took the Dragon Ball. And Vegeta's like screaming, ah!
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I felt that.
Krillin.
I like it. Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They had the Krillin owned counter. Owned counter. Senzu bean.
Yeah. Senzu bean.
Oh God, Team 4-star.
Oh, they did such a fantastic job.
One of my favorite bits though is the stuffed crust.
Mm-hmm. Stuffed crust, King Kai. You can eat it
in reverse.
I can't believe we're having this conversation.
Oh, so yeah, in case those of you who don't know Eric in real life, like he has like a pantheon of different voices he can do.
I've got it pretty nailed down with King Kai.
So. You do a great King Kai.
Yeah. Goku, you gotta listen to me. So I know that, yeah, I've got his voice, a bunch of other ones too.
You do.
So as I go through the different thing here, I feel like I do a pretty convincing Bobbity.
Your Bobbity's fantastic. And Bobbity was in the
Boo Saga.
Boo.
Yep. So
I can't bibbity bobbity.
Bibbity Bobbity Boo. That's exactly what he was going for there.
Yes.
Akira Toriyama. Yeah. Rest in peace.
Oh, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama.
That stinks that we lost him. But, boy, what a gift he gave to the world, though, with
really
Dragon Ball.
Did.
Holy crap.
Well, Dragon Ball Z really was probably how a lot of people got introduced to anime.
Big time. Well, that was definitely it for us, too, because we really... I mean, obviously, we got into Pokemon and stuff like that, but no, Dragon Ball Z is like the quintessential main anime we usually harken back to when we think of anime. Oh, my gosh. But yeah, going back to like the Cell Saga, that's your favorite.
That is my favorite.
That's the one where I'm just kind of like lost from. Kind of like, okay, it was good, but like, who's the antagonist?
Cell.
Because it's, like, it was a meandering mess, because it starts off with Trunks coming from the future, like, watch out for the androids. They end up fighting a bunch of androids. Those weren't the androids. It's a different android. And then these other androids come up.
But there's so many surprises and twists and turns.
But I found out later on that it was actually like, I think one of the editors for Akira Toriyama, like, I guess he kept on like not liking the villains. So they kept on making more and more like even more menacing villains. And that's why that saga turned out the way it did. And ended up with Cell that basically could absorb the androids. And it turned out to be like that arc.
I think... So we did the podcast we did about marriage before this. Mm. We talk about how we don't normally disagree. This is one of the only things we disagree on. Which one's the best?
But I like the Boo Saga.
No.
Oh yeah.
Erroneous.
Yep.
Nope.
Good old Boo Saga.
No.
Yeah. But no, Frieza Saga with the first transformation of Goku into a Super Saiyan.
Oh, that was so awesome.
Yeah. Basically Frieza, Lord Frieza, basically takes what Krillin, after he gets hit with this giant bomb called a spirit bomb, he comes back from the dead and he's like, ugh. And he basically, says, now your little friend will die. And he, kills Krillin.
Kills Krillin.
Help me, Bob! And Goku just sits there and he's like, you monster! And turns Super Saiyan.
Yep. I wish we could use the noises from the show.
Oh my gosh, it'd be great. But yeah, I remember I actually prefer old Frieza voice compared to new one.
I do too.
The voice of basically Genkai from Yu Yu Hakusho. That's another one we'll talk about.
I'll talk about that in a little bit.
But yeah, the original Frieza with more of like the raspy, gritty compared to.
Actually, that was a woman.
It was, yeah. It was a lady who voiced. And yeah, the more modern one, I guess he just passed away. The more modern Lord Frieza, who sounds like this, more calculated.
Hey, you could be like Frieza.
Monkeys.
How does Frieza know what monkeys are?
I know, right?
That's something I've questioned.
Yeah, he always calls them monkeys.
How does he know what monkeys are?
Hello, monkeys.
How do Saiyans know what monkeys are?
I don't know. The Saiyans were kind of like a pirate race.
They were.
So they would go around and like just randomly destroy planets and they were always for hire. So that gets revealed later on with Bardock, father of Goku. But yeah, the whole point of why it's called Dragon Ball is because there's these Dragon Balls that were created by this alien race known as Namekians, and they can grant you wishes.
I wish we had those in real life.
Right?
Well, wasn't that how in Dragon Ball GT, didn't they have like the dark Dragon Balls?
Yeah, they introduced
they
that.
made too many wishes or something.
All the wishes bared consequences or some ridiculous thing. It's like,
okay.
You can go down the rabbit hole of GT. We're not going to do that right now.
No, because I'll be honest, I've never watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I have, and it's just kind of
I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah. It's just a thing. So
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But no, Dragon Ball Z unto itself is just a force. But yeah, and then Vegeta, basically who you meet in the Saiyan saga, because these Saiyans come to Earth and Goku ends up fighting them in order to like save Earth. Although it's very interesting how like there's a trope, I guess Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball Z are kind of similar because like the main character dies in like the beginning of that arc. So, but yeah, Goku basically sacrifices himself in order to like kill his brother who invaded to try and take over Earth. He's like, Kakarot, you haven't done your job. Why have you not killed everybody? And then he proceeds to get like, basically vice gripped by Goku. And he's like, wait, brother, don't kill me. Ah! And then
blows up.
Gets blasted by Piccolo with special beam cannon. Blasts a hole right through him and Goku. And then Goku goes like to the other world and trains. And
that's where King Kai comes in.
King Kai comes in, teaches him Kaioken. And boom. He comes back to Earth and does all that stuff. Yeah, meets Vegeta. Basically almost kills Vegeta, but like Krillin almost killed him, right? Goku's friend?
I think so.
Yeah, and Goku's just like, Krillin, don't. Spare him. And there's always a trope of like, okay, the enemy ends up becoming an ally later on.
Yes.
And that's always, that's like
with the androids.
Constant messaging in Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, it's
because androids 17 and 18.
17 really doesn't become an ally until like Dragon Ball Super though.
Yeah.
Because actually he's an enemy in GT. So
that's right. Isn't he like super? Isn't there a Super 17?
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But like, yeah, basically 18 ends up becoming part of the Allies, I guess, because she marries Krillin. And Cell doesn't become an ally, obviously.
No,
Frieza kind of does in Super.
Kind of,
which is weird, because Goku never really finishes off Frieza. It's Trunks that comes in and like slashes him with a sword and then blasts him into oblivion. And Trunks is an interesting case, too. You could argue Trunks has killed more people in Dragon Ball than anybody else.
I mean, because he killed Frieza. Mm-hmm. He killed the androids.
He killed Cell. Mm-hmm. I think it references that I think he killed Bobbity and Boo in Dragon Ball Super, too.
I'm pretty sure.
To prevent Boo from hatching, he killed them off. I'm just like, oh my god.
So, yeah, his
death counter, Trunks is just, he's badass. Of course, I think Trunks was originally killed by modern-day Cell.
Yeah.
Because he fired a blast right past, like, Gohan and Vegeta.
Oh, yeah, right through the chest.
Mm-hmm. Then Vegeta went freaking berserk. Cell! But I love Team 4 Stars Vegeta. That guy's spot on. Such a good job. And Team 4 Star Cell's pretty good, too. All these squares make a circle. All these squares make a circle. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. It bothers me. It bothers me. And then, what's that? Goku finds him handsome or something like that?
Doesn't Goku have a crush on Cell?
They redirect the plot lines a lot in Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Oh my god, it's so fantastic. Yeah, Goku's like, woo, he's so handsome.
They make Goku really dumb.
They do. They dumb it down so bad.
But in the thing that bothered me in Dragon Ball Super, they made Goku so dumb.
Oh, forgot my tractor. Really mature.
You think of Goku from the Frieza saga when he's turning into Super Saiyan the first time. He's giving this awesome monologue. Mm-hmm. He's so fearful and he's powerful. And then you get to Super and he's like, what's a kiss? What is this? What is this? That's like, dude, really?
And also introduced, going back to the Cell saga. Yeah! Hercule!
Well, no, remember, so in the American version, like the one we saw in Toonami, they called him Hercule, but he's really Mr. Satan.
Mr. Satan in the Japanese.
In the Japanese version,
he's got all the hilarious like 666 on his car and everything. He's like, yeah.
He reminds me of Hulk Hogan.
He does. That's what they were going for there.
Yeah.
Like a pro wrestler that has no business being there because, their entire persona is just fabricated. And Cell and all the Z fighters are like legit. So they view him as just like comedic relief. And all throughout the Boo saga, he's basically just like, parading around like he's going to defeat Boo. I'm with Majin Buu right now. Gonna kill him. And it's like, no.
No, they're actually buddies.
But he ends up befriending him. I'm a goner. He's got a very throaty, like, vocal tone. But yeah, definitely you can see with like the MME inspiration behind a lot of that.
Well, I like how his daughter's name is Videl, but it's
Devil
like
spelled
devil.
backwards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or scrambled around.
Yeah. Videl. And then she ends up with Gohan, just like,
Gohan. I was so upset what they did with Gohan. In
it goes from like basically like destroying Cell to like
I'm
a high school guy.
Little dweeb.
Mm-hmm.
But they did kind of redeem him in Dragon Ball Superhero, the movie.
Yeah. I do like that one. That's I think the most recent movie, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Although I liked him in Dragon Ball Z, the Boo saga, because he didn't even have to go Super Saiyan. He was just that strong. And he went up against, Majin Super Boo, I think?
Yeah.
And fought him, and he was kicking his butt all over the place, too.
Well, I thought I had read somewhere that, like, Dragon Ball Z was originally supposed to end with the Cell saga.
I read that, too. Because, like, the very next arc was only, like, 4 episodes long. It was, like, the Otherworld tournament. It was only 4 episodes with Pikkon.
Pikkon.
Yeah, and then Goku, like, exploited his weakness. But supposedly he was fighting this intergalactic tournament for, for what, 7 years or so for going to grow up.
Yeah.
So, and then Goku comes back for a day, which turns out to be, like, the longest freaking
day of ever.
Yeah. It's nuts. That's why Bobity's funding Majin Buu. But we could go on and on about Dragon Ball and all the goodies there. But, okay, moving on from Dragon Ball, we ended up getting into, what, Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah,
a few times.
Yu Yu Hakusho I really got into.
Mm-hmm. Or basically, Yusuke Urameshi. Here's our protagonist. He's dead. And that's how the whole thing starts. I'm
literally,
like,
he dies in the first episode.
Yeah.
But basically the whole first season is basically he dies rescuing a little boy.
Yep. He tries to rescue a little boy. I think, he pushes him out of the way from being hit by a car, and then he proceeds to get hit.
Well, because remember that it was unexpected, so he's kind of like a delinquent. Like, he was a juvenile delinquent. And
oh, yeah, but he would beat the tar out of people.
But nobody was expecting him to do an act of kindness.
Right.
So,
and that's where he ends up meeting the mighty Koenma.
And they give him, he has to do tasks to try to earn his life back.
Yep. We're giving you an egg to see what happens. And they give him, an egg, and, I guess the first one, turned into, a beast or something, and the second one turned out to be this, Furby-looking thing with long ears. Pooh?
Yeah.
What a name.
That was a spirit beast.
Yeah, a spirit beast. It was a freaking Furby with extra wings.
It pretty much was a Furby.
And it turns into, this really giant,
it's supposed
peacock bird later on.
It's supposed to reflect your inner self.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, that was kind of
And Keiko was just oh, it's so cute.
They had a tournament, the Dark Tournament Saga.
That one lasted almost half the
Oh my god, that
series.
took forever.
Yep.
See, that one...
Toguro.
Yeah, Toguro, he was the main villain. Mm-hmm. But the thing that bothered me with Yu Yu Hakusho is the last season, where they do the Demon World tournament.
Yeah.
It was so rushed.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 kings and the Demon World, it was so rushed.
All the different accents they had for the different antagonists, because there was one guy you fought was deep Australian accent.
Oh yeah, Chew. Shrimp on the bobby.
Knife head dash match.
Yes.
Or something. Mm-hmm.
And then they had the one guy who had a super
more
thick
of an Irish accent.
Irish. What was his name? Jin, I think. The Windmaster.
Yeah, Windmaster.
And they had I'm trying to think of everything with it.
Yeah, that was just a whole meandering arc.
Kuwabara. So the main characters were Yusuke and Kuwabara. That was Chris Sabat too, wasn't it?
That was Chris Sabat did Kuwabara.
And I found out, so the one character, Kurama, Fox character, same voice actor as Tien from Dragon Ball Z.
And the same
sound
voice
nothing
actor.
alike.
And then Android 17 was also Hiei. Yep. The silent brooding type.
Little dragon guy.
Yeah, silent brooding, dark-haired guy.
He kind of looks like a Vegeta, but shorter.
Yes.
They have the same hair.
Same thing I thought.
Kind of the same attitude.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, only 4 seasons long, very gritty compared to a typical anime. So I enjoyed it though.
I enjoy it too. I like Yusuke's attitude.
Yeah. It has some very dark messaging in a lot of the things with Yu Yu Hakusho too.
Yeah.
But honestly, definitely worth a watch. And there's, the voice of the original Frieza is also Genkai, the teacher for Yusuke Urameshi.
Yeah, because I remember watching Yu Yu Hakusho, and Genkai shows up and she's talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that fucking Frieza?
That's fucking Frieza.
Yeah. Reference to Team 4-Star there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember like, wait, that's Frieza.
Yep. Very gritty voice. So.
And actually, I think that's one of the reasons the voice actress for Frieza, she quit doing Frieza because it was too much strain on her voice.
Yeah, because Frieza had to do a whole bunch of like yelling and whatnot.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Yu Yu Hakusho is definitely one of my top.
Yeah, in mine too. Animes. In my pantheon, by far. All right, moving on to other animes. One that I actually kind of get more into, especially as I get older here, which I tend to like view on a spiritual level, believe it or not, is One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
Even though it's really considered what's called a gag manga. A gag manga is kind of like a parody manga. Yeah. So it's not meant to be taken seriously. But basically, this guy, he wanted to be a superhero so bad. He did this thing for like, I don't know if it was a year or a couple of years, where he did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every day. And he turned into like this guy who's just too strong. And he can beat anybody with just one punch. And it is just hilarious because it builds up like all these conflicts and, you know, heroes are basically getting thrown away by villains and the tar beat out of him and everything. He comes in there and like nobody recognizes him at all. And he actually lost his hair because he worked out so much. He's just this bald guy that goes around and punches them. And yeah, he's basically just lost his like inspiration for anything. He's just like, well, I'm just the best. Like, what do I do?
Well, because remember, they have like the hero registration where like he goes to register to become a hero,
and he's inadvertently the one that created this thing without knowing it because he ends up saving this kid from this lobster creature in the very first episode, and the kids, I don't know if it's father or uncle, ends up forming the Hero Association because of like Saitama's actions, and he never ends up joining the Hero Association until later on.
Well, and I remember the first episode of One Punch Man. I remember watching, and it was he was Crablante. Mm-hmm. So it was literally a guy who's half crab, half man, and he's literally just walking around in underwear. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, what are we watching?
Yeah, it's weird.
So I remember thinking, okay, what anime? But then we've watched it several times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you get past like a little bit of the weirdness of it, like it's nowhere near as weird as One Piece.
Yeah.
One Piece is definitely down the weird rabbit hole, and not to mention, like, how many seasons?
Oh my god, there's so many. So many.
Yeah. Although, I think One Punch Man only has, like, 2 seasons? But no, One Piece has... a
gajillion.
Yeah, it's been going on. Probably one of the longest-running animes still going, where they have not found the One Piece. It's basically like a pirate anime, and, yeah, the One Piece is like, this one pirate's treasures all held together in one piece somewhere. And they've been sailing around trying to find the damn thing.
It's like, how many episodes does it take? Okay, the series...
The filler episodes.
The series currently consists of 1,107 episodes, ongoing. 5 OVAs, 13 TV specials, and 15 movies.
For which one?
One Piece.
One Piece, oh yeah.
Like, how long does it take you to find the One Piece?
Oh yeah. It takes apparently multiple decades.
I mean... Jesus Christ.
But you want to talk about long-running animes? They finally ended Ash's run at Pokemon. Like, literally just about, a year or 2 ago?
Yeah.
And he's finally basically became a Pokemon master. Hey, congratulations.
Yay.
Good job, Ash Ketchum. We're proud of you. Look at 25-plus years, you finally did it. So.
Well, back to One Punch Man.
Mm-hmm.
I like how Saitama, the One Punch Man, he's so... just monotone.
Yeah, he's so disillusioned by everything, and he's more focused on hey, I can, it's bargain day at the supermarket. I got Kombusu stock on sale. Yeah, and it's just it's so relatable. It's just yeah.
Like he was fighting this one monster, and he was more upset that he missed bargain day
at the supermarket. And he proceeds to absolutely just destroy.
But
he's
guy. Serious punch.
Yep. And they definitely pay homage to Dragon Ball Z in the season finale of season 1. Where, they had this one guy who's basically, all powerful and trying to go against him and, powering up like crazy. And it basically said, I was like, whoa, okay, serious punch. And blows him away.
Purry prisoner.
Yeah, that's a parody of Sailor Moon.
He's like this big muscular...
effeminate, muscular guy.
He's naked.
Yeah. He's got this really deep, gritty voice. It's just like, yeah, he's like very affectionate towards all
the male characters.
You hurt my precious little person.
And then who's the main villain in the first one?
Oh, it's kind of like a multiple series.
Well,
of
there's
villains.
that big sea monster dude.
Yeah, the Sea King.
Oh, and then Saitama's kind of sidekick is that robot or cyborg named Genos.
Yeah, Genos. Master.
And he gets like blown apart.
But I like how both of them have what the other wants. Like
yes.
Saitama wants like praise and recognition, and Genos basically he wants to be what Saitama is, like this uber strong, like untouchable force. And Genos actually has this giant fan club because he did so well over at the Hero Association training thing to become a hero. Like he's got his own little fan club, and Saitama's like, whoa. But both has what the other wants, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, it's a good
Yeah,
anime.
One Punch Man's fantastic.
Season 3, when nobody knows when season 3 is coming out.
Yeah, it's taken a while. Then moving on to other ones. If you're in the right mindset for it, it might be worth a watch. But for us, we had to tune it out and kind of block it out for a while. Is Neon Genesis Evangelion,
I believe.
Yeah. Oh, my Lord.
So here I am thinking it's going to be like, oh, here's another cool anime about robots.
Robots fighting.
It's going to be like Gundam.
Yeah, Gundam or Robotron or Robotech.
Yeah, no.
Definitely not.
No.
No, I personally, I view it on a very deep metaphorical level. It's a journey about a young boy going through adolescence, finding himself, self-actualization. That's what the whole story is supposed to be about, and it's portrayed with a whole bunch of different robot fighting and things like that.
It's really fucked up.
Oh, yeah. It is just a mental roller coaster.
It's really messed up.
Yeah. And especially if you watch the movies, too. It's graphic, gory, mind-twisting.
Well, I know a lot of people, like, it has a huge following.
Oh, it's huge in Japan.
Love it, but I
get the messaging behind that, but oh my gosh, is it? Yeah, it is a mental roller coaster.
It's disturbing.
Yes, that's a word for it.
Unsettling to me. Because I remember watching it the first few episodes, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I'm like, oh, what's happening? Oh, no. Oh, no.
But there's a lot of Christian, overlays and tones, everything. And I think they take an interesting approach, too, where they call, like, they're a bunch of supposedly aliens that come from outer space to like invade Japan and like try and destroy, was it New Tokyo or something like that? And they refer to all these aliens as angels. And there's all kinds of like cross references and like biblical references and everything. And that's where Evangelion.
A lot of the angels in that, and it look like biblically accurate angels.
Exactly.
Like if you look up like the New Testament biblically accurate angels, they're freaky.
But that's why I think there's an interesting connection between an angel and an alien. I'm like, that's fascinating to have that twist. But yeah, that's where, like, basically, Shinji Ikari is put in this giant robot because only his DNA matches with this robot called an Eva.
Yeah.
And it's like Eva 2 or something like that, isn't it?
But it's kind of like, isn't it like a robot and like a living thing?
Entity, yeah.
Because he's essentially getting like injected into its spinal cord.
Yeah, and then there's like an umbilical cord that like keeps it powered up, but if you get detached from it, it only has like 5 minutes of like runtime before it starts going feral.
Yeah,
it's weird.
And then the one part that we always reference.
Yeah, well, that's in the movie, I think.
The movie.
Yeah.
With Asuka.
Yeah.
And
with Spunk Hand. Oh. Disgusting.
There was no need.
Yeah. I don't know why they put that in there.
There was
so
no
weird.
need for that scene.
Yeah. That's what kind of turned you off indefinitely to this. It's just like, this is down the weird rabbit hole.
And then the one character, like Shinji's like caretaker, I don't want to say caretaker, but she's an adult and Shinji's like, what, like 14? And she kisses him and she's like, oh, when this is all over, I'll show you how adults do it. Yeah. And I'm like, pedophile. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a major red flags for me. I'm just like, okay, that's a little weird.
I remember being bothered by that anime like for a couple days after we watched it.
You want to take like a cold shower after watching all that.
I know. I'm like, I need to watch something like happy.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Watch Hamtaro again.
Yeah, from Neon.
Go to
Evangelion to Hamtaro.
That would be an awesome thing on Toonami. Like, and that's one of the reasons too why they couldn't air certain episodes on Toonami. Like the ending of Sailor Moon, you wonder why you were never able to see it because she was basically half naked through a couple of the last episodes. Well, like, what the?
Oh, there's no way they could have aired Evangelion on Toonami.
No way.
Absolutely not. But then I remember like on Toonami, like thinking of Gundam Wing, for example, they had to edit and censor things because like I remember there was a scene where like one of the characters like jumped out of his Gundam or he fell and he landed and he looked like he died and there was blood coming out.
Ugh.
But they edited the blood out in Toonami.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no way they could have put Evangelion on there.
Nope.
There's the new movie that came out like a little like a year ago.
It's like
maybe?
1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. We have not seen them.
But the animation
it looks awesome.
Beautiful, but I can't bring myself to watch it.
That's what I keep wondering. It's like, okay, is it better to have them remaster old stuff into new stuff, or is it better to just kind of let art be art type of thing? It's like, and okay, here's another one that I'm kind of interested in too, but I don't know if it's considered anime or not. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is that anime? I don't think it technically is.
I don't think it's considered anime.
Even though it looks like anime. It's like basically made in Korea, isn't it?
The animation studios in
Korea. But that's honestly one of the best storylines I've ever seen with an animated feature. Probably like the ultimate one to watch. As far as morality, life lessons, growing character development, and everything, it is the full package.
Yeah.
Is Avatar: Last Airbender.
I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm. But going back to actual like Japanese anime.
Well, the one that we got into recently was My Hero Academia.
That's phenomenal.
So the bad thing I keep hearing about My Hero is the fandom is weird.
Oh yeah.
Which I was active on Twitter a while ago and like I was actually following some stuff about My Hero Academia and some of the fan art I stumbled across was icky.
There's people that like fetishize a lot of crap.
Yeah, and like mind you, these kids are like I mean, I know they're not real people, but they're in high school.
Right.
And I'm like, icky. And then you see these videos on TikTok, like they're asking, oh, what's the worst anime fandom?
And they always say My Hero fandom.
Yeah.
Because people go friggin' nuts for it.
Well, and that apparently the My Hero Academia fans smell.
Yeah. Well, that's basically like a lot of anime, like convention get-togethers. People really don't like bathe at all. Because we went to go see Dragon Ball Z in movie theaters.
Oh my God.
And we'd sit by people that would not like bathe at all. They just reeked of BO. And it's like, ugh.
And I think that's why sometimes people don't like getting into anime.
Bingo.
Because there's that negative stereotype of anime fan.
So that's definitely a thing. But yeah, My Hero Academia, definitely one of the better ones to kind of get into. Oh my gosh. Except for like, I had a hard time accepting the protagonist because he is such a crybaby.
I love Deku.
He's such a whiny little bitch.
I will not tolerate the Deku slander.
Uraka!
Because, okay, I'm a crybaby also, so I can relate.
He's just whiny. Oh my gosh.
But, you know, in a way...
Like, I just want to be a hero so bad. You inspire me. It's like, oh my god, just grow a set, kid.
But... if you think about it, My Hero Academia and One Punch Man are very similar.
They are, because they got heroes and different tiers.
There's like hero agencies and hero associations. They're very similar.
That's how I was like, I wonder which one inspired the other. Because like there's 7 seasons of My Hero Academia compared to like the 3 seasons of One Punch Man. Actually,
and I think My Hero is actually one of the first animes that I've gotten into that was still ongoing.
Yep.
And that the manga is still going because it's getting toward the end. But yeah, a lot of times, like, I mean, I got into Yu Yu Hakusho, that was way over. And you know, but I like Deku. I don't care.
Nah, he's annoying. I wish his mentor, basically the one he looks up to,
All Might.
And he has the power of one for all.
Yep.
He sounds like a big heroic guy, like this.
He does.
It's so funny.
But that's probably the one, that we got into really hard. I mean, probably. Was it maybe a year ago? We watched it and we like binged the whole thing.
The first 2 episodes really bring you in because it kind of touches on like, or it strikes a chord with this notion of just like, you know, a kid, despite all odds, pursuing a dream that he always wanted to be like his hero, and he gets validated for it finally. After years of like his mom discouraging him, you can't be a hero. His teachers, doctors telling him you don't have the potential to be a hero.
Well, in My Hero Academia, like the majority of the population has superpowers called quirks.
Yep.
Most of the people do, and
he was diagnosed to basically be not one.
He was quirkless, which in that anime it's very rare to be quirkless, and he wanted to be a hero.
Yep. And he idolized his hero All Might, who's basically kind of like a big boisterous Superman like figure.
Yeah.
And ends up having a chance encounter with him in episode 1 where he ends up saving him and he like fangirls like crazy. He's like, oh my God, it's so great to meet you. Oh my God, can I get your autograph? Oh, you already signed it. So great. Oh. He's like, thank you. I'm off. Hey, what are you doing? Get off me.
Yeah, he
basically grabbed his leg. He's like, I'm sorry. I just wanted to talk to you. Like, let go. If I let go, I'll die. Oh, yeah, then don't do that.
Well, like at the Deku in his room, it's like a shrine to All Might. Yeah, it's All
Might. But over the course of time, you find out, like, at the very end of that second episode, All Might, he's dealing with a thing where, like, he's dealing with some, like, irreversible injury or something like that. And he needs to pass on his powers to, like, a new potential, like, student. And he ends up taking Deku under his wing, and he says, at the very end of that episode, he said, you too can become a hero. And he's just, like, breaking down, bawling, like, dreams can become a reality. But yeah, it touches on a very core notion of being always slammed the door in your face, always told, no, you can't. And finally, his hero validates him and says, yes, you can. You can aspire to something greater than you even believe. And eventually he ends up taking up that mantle and then goes through a whole vigilante arc in like the sixth one.
That's like an anime. It starts off like really like kind of lighthearted and fun.
Oh yeah, and it gets dark. Very quickly.
I would say like
season 4, 5, 6.
The end of season 4, I would say more like 4, 5 were still kind of lighthearted.
The end of season 4, not really, because you got Lemillion and all that stuff, where he loses his quirk and all that.
Yeah. Oh, so they have some of the episodes, they talk about the villains. And the one episode I have only watched one time, and I can't watch it anymore, is the main villain is Shigaraki. And
basically, it's like his story where he comes into like getting his quirk, and basically his quirk is anything he touches decomposes.
Disintegrate. Yeah, it disintegrates. So in this episode, he doesn't have his quirk at the beginning of his episode. Mm-hmm. But as time goes on, and we all knew, you already know what his quirk is.
Yeah, it's just a flashback to his childhood.
So it's a flashback to his childhood, and you see him holding his dog. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh no.
Yep.
And he's holding it, and he gets the quirk activates, and he disintegrates his dog.
Yep.
And then essentially he disintegrates the
rest of his family. Yep. Because they try to like comfort him or something like that, and he touches him. It's almost like the Midas touch, only with like decay. I think is his quirk.
It's decay.
And basically anything he touches with all 5 of his fingers will just automatically just.
And then the main villain of the story is called One for All?
All for
One. I get it. All
for One and One for All. I know it's very confusing.
He takes Shigaraki under his wings and essentially takes the hands from his dead family members and like puts
attaches
them
it to him. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, very weird. So yeah, I've only seen an episode once.
Oh, he talks like this, Shigaraki. But it's the same voice as Trunks, I'm pretty sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Eric Vale, I think is his
name. Shigaraki.
Yeah, and I've been keeping up more with the manga online than you have, so I kind of already know what's happened.
Yep. But it sucks how All Might basically lost all of his powers, because like in order to transfer his powers onto Deku, his future student, he loses it himself. So he basically turns into basically his normal frail figure.
Well, he wasn't always frail.
Yeah.
But he couldn't hold up the strong form anymore because
of some battle he had in the past or something.
With All for One.
Was it All for One? Did they reference that, or was it a different
it was
enemy?
a battle with All for One. He lost his power from that. Yep.
But they have some good voice acting, excellent character development through that whole series.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with like most unrealistic like high school expectations of all, like
they're all friends.
An entire class, all friends together, all supporting each other and building each other up. You inspired me. No, you inspired me. Well, you inspired me from inspiring you. And it's like that's not how high school works. At least not that I've been exposed to.
No.
So, but basically, yeah, all this kind of stuff happens to them and everything, and they just all learn and grow together. Good character development. Probably one of the better written animes, I think, of modern time.
I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the drawback about My Hero Academia is the fandom, unfortunately.
It can be a bit stinkerific.
Well, not just that, but like people in that fandom are very weird about shipping.
Yeah. Like who's dating who type of thing. But honestly, that's any fandom if you really think about it. It is,
but
Dragon Ball Z, they have him hooking up with Sailor Moon and stuff like that too.
I mean, I don't care. Like, if you want to ship stuff, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But, like, so recently at a panel, somebody
was grilling Deku's voice actor
about how do you feel about people who ship Deku with Eri.
Eri's like a little, like,
She's
what, 4-year?
She's like literally 6 years old.
6-year-old girl that, he ends up saving in season 4.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like, that's freaking groomer-esque creepy questions.
But that's what I mean. That's part of the reason, because people get so weird about shipping with that fandom. Like, I don't know why, but it kind of ruins the reputation of the fandom in a way.
Yeah. Or reinforces the stereotype of said fandom.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was just weird.
Have we gotten any other animes recently?
Trying to think of some of the other ones might have watched.
There's a few that I would like to watch, but we haven't yet.
Like what?
There's Chainsaw Man. I heard that's really good. We did start watching Attack on Titan.
Oh my god, that first episode is
and I want to continue watching that one, because I know that's kind of like a sin in the anime community to not have watched Attack on Titan.
I remember I watched Death Note, but I feel like that one has a lot of bad juju with it, because like they always talk about death and how to kill people by writing down names in a notebook. I'm like, that's just kind of weird, man. So, but I know that's got like a huge following.
Oh, there's another one that's really popular right now. What is it called? Juju something.
Oh, there's so many animes out now. It's just crazy.
Jujutsu Kaisen. That's a new one that came up here. That one's really popular right now. Have not watched it.
Nope. But the stuff we've watched so far, I mean, they've been interesting.
Well, I think I do have a soft spot for the older animes, because that's just what I watched growing up.
Except for My Hero's kind of the exception to that.
Yeah, that's one of the newer ones that we've really gotten into. That and One Punch Man.
Yeah, One Punch Man's good. So good. But Dragon Ball will always be like the quintessential. Actually, if you get a chance, they actually have, I think, 3 different soup restaurants now that are Dragon Ball inspired, called Super Saiyan.
Oh, man. So when we go down to Florida.
Yeah, over in Orlando, right outside of Universal Studios, they actually have a little like noodle bowl place. And I guess they have a gift shop now, too. Yeah. That's a Dragon Ball Z inspired like noodle bowl place. And they have fantastic food.
Yeah, the ramen and the pho is actually really good. Like, it's not just a gimmick. It's actually very good.
Shout out to Super Saiyan. So good.
Oh, man, I miss Super Saiyan.
I know. Wish we had one here in Ohio. Be great.
Oh, man, it's so good. And they call it the edamame zenzu beans.
Yeah, they got all the Dragon Ball Z references. Like, they have Kaioken sauce. They have
They have the Spirit Bomb energy drink.
Drinks. Yeah.
But if you go into their store, it's like all Dragon Ball Z memorabilia.
And they just built, like I said, a little shop right beside the actual restaurant. So I think they have a whole bunch of like merchandise, stuff like that you can buy there too, which is really cool. But parking was kind of an issue when we went there the last time. But I think they have Super 3 now, which I think is in Japan or over in Jacksonville.
Yeah, because they have Orlando, Jacksonville, and they have one more.
Yeah.
Or do they have 2 in Orlando?
Might be 2 in Orlando. I'm not 100% sure.
Their pho is very good, though.
Yeah.
I do miss that.
They have some of the best, noodle bowl stuff. Fantastic. But if you get a chance, definitely check it out. Fun stuff.
Yeah, if you're in the Florida, Orlando area.
And I think that'll probably wrap it up for this one. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you next time on It All Depends on the Situation. Have a good one.